is co-founder and CMO at Openr, the MadTech platform that lets you engage the engaged from the content you share. Christina spent much of her career managing and growing FMCG brands at Nestle and Robinsons. Nestle, can you give us some of the treats and snacks that you managed there?
They might be a little bit old.
Well, big brand. She went away from big brand and went to smaller startup brands and has never looked back since. And also currently teaching at University College in London as a mentor to those starting up. And her presentation today is about the power of agency brand startup collaboration and what it means for your campaign results. We're happy to have you, Christina. I'm going to just hand it directly to you so you can begin.
Cool, thanks very much, Mike. And hello, everybody. Hopefully this session will be different. So we're diving into how agencies, brands, and startups are working together and what that means particularly for campaign results and how they're forever improving and being more creative as a result of that work. Now, why have I got a picture of a big beach in my title slide? Well, that's because of where I am. I am normally based in London, but right now I'm actually in Cannes because Openr was picked as a winner of the Lions Innovation Startup Competition. So I'm live here from Cannes doing 2 different events all at the same time. But what better place to be talking about innovation and creativity than the Festival of Creativity? So who am I? Well, fortunately, Mike introduced me brilliantly there. As he said, I'm a marketer by trade, spent years running big global brands. And for the last 5 years, I've been an entrepreneur, running different marketing technology companies. We exited one last year and are now focusing on our latest Openr, which I hope to be able to share a couple of examples of as examples of agencies, brands, and startups working together. So what are we going to cover today? Well, first we'll dive into how startups have become the go-to for innovation and why, especially in marketing. Then we'll look at the why, so the benefits for both brands and agencies. We'll take all the advice I've gathered from experts in the field and share that best practice with you and share some examples along the way. And also hopefully give you a quick start guide, so whether you're a brand marketer or an agency marketer or working with clients, we should cover all bases. So where did this hot topic come from? Well, over the past 3 months, I feel like I've been traveling all over Europe, discussing and debating this very hot topic, from the Global Festival of Media in Rome to Advertising Week in London, talking about how increasingly startups, agencies and brands need to come together in order to stay ahead of the marketing game. And whilst I can't bring together some of the amazing panelists I've had the fortune of working with through these few months, what I have done is formulated all the different tips and examples from their advice from those events and brought it here today. So why is everybody talking about startups? Let's start there. It all comes down to innovation, and particularly the speed of innovation at a company level, not even just at a marketing level. Believe it or not, the average tenure of a large corporate firm now has gone from 61 years to 18 years at the top of their game. That means that innovation has never been more important for a company to stay ahead. Yet, of course, staying ahead and innovation, which is the thing that's driving that staying ahead, is the realm of the startup world. Startups are delivering innovation that disrupt entire industries. Think about Uber, think about TransferWise. These two have completely disrupted entire industries, but yet you put them together and they're less than 15 years old between them. And that makes it incredibly hard for large corporations to innovate internally and ultimately to keep up. As a result, 88% of corporates are saying that collaboration with startups has become an essential part of their innovation strategy because they're faced with these challenges. and the majority are seeking out those startups to spark partnerships with really early on. Huge global brands are working with startups. Some have incubators, some have programs to facilitate introductions and relationships, others depend on their agencies, or a mix of all three. So what are these brands using startups for? Well, ultimately, it all comes down to speed of innovation, but that can take many different forms. Innovation done in-house is almost always hampered by legacy systems, bureaucracy, which means all innovation is painfully slow. And I can say that because I headed up an international team that was responsible for doing groundbreaking innovation in one of those big corporates. Even more so, the scope of innovation in-house hampers any real step change, because the scope of innovation is just consumed to one tiny little area and doesn't take into consideration the wider world. Whereas young companies, startups, have the world to find the problems in and to solve. So they look to find innovation that will improve performance, to solve key challenges, to access new products, services, markets, to create entirely new products and services, and in the long term, even result in company acquisitions. Quite simply, it all comes down to digital transformation. And as Dominic Mills, who is a really well-known, renowned journalist in the marketing world, said, digital transformation is at the heart of this innovation, and startups are the place to go. What this means for marketers, of course, this amazing clash of brands, agencies, and startups, is that it unlocks a whole world of creativity and pace around marketing as a whole. It's hugely empowering and inspiring to be part of. There's a continuous stream of new tools and new ideas that can improve campaign results, that can fuel creative responses to campaign briefs. The options to engage consumers have never been so vast and compelling. In-house marketers can be playing at the cutting edge of marketing tech innovation, and agency marketers can be delivering amazing work in response to briefs. So it really is an exciting time to be part of it. So now we've looked at the why, what about the who? Well, as I said, I'm based in London, and I thought you might like to know about 6 marketing or MadTech startups that you might want to look at from all who are taking the London scene by storm. So here are my 6 top ones. Seenit is a video production app that lets you crowdsource video from fans, customers, and teams. Openr, of course, our company, is like an ad unit for social and content marketers. It lets you further engage those people that read all the content you share, whether you share it on social, email, or paid distribution, by letting you put a message and a call to action onto all of that content that you share to get the content engagement closer to a commercial result. Resonance, Freewall hides publisher content until a viewer engages with an ad, a poll, or a quiz. SoPost enables product sampling via social, and Hashtagged brings together a brand story into one social wall from fans, photos, comments, and contribution. And finally, Vidsy's creator community enables video mobile production at scale. So if you don't know any of those brands, be sure to have a look at them and what they're doing if you're interested in integrating them into your brand or onto your clients. So what's really exciting about the marketing startup innovation is just how accessible it is to pilot. Compared to other business innovation, like rolling out a whole new IT system that takes months, if not years, or marketing tech innovation is so easy. The campaign-driven nature of our field makes MadTech the easiest type of innovation to experiment with. You can try one tech on one micro-element of one campaign, making it really easy to control and extremely low risk. And the campaign results are constantly being improved and optimized by technological advances as a result. So, as an example of this speed to market, I'll just share something that Vodafone did with Openr. They managed to integrate this within just 2 weeks. So here's a snapshot of what they were sharing on Twitter. Your Ready Business is a Vodafone brand, and they often share content on Twitter because it's interesting to their fans. But actually, that just sends their viewers or their Twitter followers off to the BBC website in this case. What they actually did was shared it like this, adding an Openr message with the content, or by sharing the special link in the Twitter feed. That's what enables them to be able to place the special Openr message there. And we see an average click-through rate on the Read It Now button, in this case, of 5% click-through rate. Obviously, that's huge. So you're encouraging people down the funnel. And they were able to hear about Openr and integrate it into their social feeds within under two weeks. So from all these panel debates that I've been on with these agency people and brand people and other startups, what's the state of play? There's lots and lots of, as I said, great MadTech startups popping up. But how is the relationship going between agencies, brands, and startups working out? Well, the resounding opinion is there is a real hunger for doing it. But there is some way to go before we get a slick route to making these relationships work brilliantly from the upset. The real challenge is to avoiding the old more talk than action issue. There's so much excitement that's built up in the last 5 years around being an entrepreneur and startups, which makes startups the cool new shiny thing that people, especially marketers, want to know about and want to meet. And that makes it really easy to become distracted just finding out what's new rather than actually cracking on and focusing on trying out some new tech and then iterating from there. After that, once you're setting up a campaign with 1 or 2 startups, there's 2 key factors that make the setup and relationship tough: the cultural difference and the processes. 6 weeks is like 6 years in startup world, and I'm really not joking. So working with a big organization with long decision-making processes can lead to frustrations on all sides. Agencies know all about that, but startups tend to be slow on the uptake here. Similarly, supplier processes can completely kill a campaign. Startups don't have cash flow or resources to deal with extensively long legal contracts or 90-day payment terms. So at times, you can get the wheels in motion, but then everything falls down on silly processes like that. So the best collaborations happen when there's flexibility on all sides. So how do we unlock all this potential? Well, this is where we get into the advice from all these experts that I've been lucky enough to be on panels with. Knowing the key roles of each party in a relationship is critical, because I wholeheartedly believe, and I think my fellow panelists would agree, that actually having all 3 parties involved from the very get-go is incredibly powerful, and it's what gets the very best results. Excuse me. The agencies are so well versed in technology, and culturally, agency marketers are just inclined to seek out the new and the improved. Furthermore, agency guys are absolute masters of coordinating multiple moving parts of campaigns. That makes them ideally placed to be the coordinator between startups and brands. And in turn, that can create a really fabulous reputation for agencies that position themselves to be the innovation introducer for their branded clients. The role of the brand is to write really bold briefs. They're the leaders, they're the innovators. If it's your brand that everybody's working from, be the creative one who is open to experimentation and to write bold briefs. It means you have to have an openness to ideas, a comfort with learning from initial results and improving from there, and an ability to influence others in your organization so that your peers get on board with trying new things as well. And then finally, the startups. They're the masters of their own technology. They're hugely ideas-driven and highly innovative, but incredibly fast-moving and hugely agile. That means that making extensions and additional tech attainable at pace is really, really easy. So if as an agency or brand marketer, you're like, I really like this piece of tech, but actually I could really do with it doing X, Y, or Z, have that conversation with the startup, because more than likely they'll be able to deliver that in a time frame that is useful to you. The real brilliance happens when all 3 partners work together, knowing what each party brings around the table. The partners work together as equals in a collaborative way from the very start on the brief. This way, ideas come out that get the very best of the tech. Everyone knows what they're aiming for. And as things are learned along the way, the team can collectively make improvements together. This kind of collaborative creativity is actually what led the Samsung team to use Openr in a way that we'd never thought of. So as I said before, I shared a social example, and that's what Openr was built for, content that was shared on social. But actually, the Samsung team came along and said that they wanted to use it as part of one of their native media campaigns. So what they did was sourced an array of really strong user reviews of their new Samsung A series, and they wanted thousands of people to read those reviews because they were so positive. So they integrated them into a native display campaign, as you can see on the left. But by including Openr, they were able to add a call to action that brought everybody back to the Samsung website to find out more about the phone. And at the end of the day, the purpose of sharing this content is always to get people back to the Samsung website, so ultimately it will lead to a purchase. They came up with that whole new way of using Openr, and in so doing opened up a whole new content source for their campaign in the form of product reviews. A second example for you, CNET. The BBC used CNET to gather public opinion. So whereas once CNET was utilised for curating and editing fan videos, the BBC used CNET to gather opinions from viewers in response to media that they'd uploaded. Again, unlocking a whole new way to source public opinion. And is a different way for utilising their startup tech. So what are the top tips for each party from our expert panelists? Well, first up, for startups, the critical thing is to be professional. You're usually dealing with professional corporations, and ultimately it's your job to appear incredibly low risk to work with. So getting all these little touches right makes a big difference, like having great case studies, making sure that your website looks slick. They all build up to presenting the right impression of your startup and making your business feel like one that a brand and agency is comfortable to work with. Refining your pitch is critical. Far too many startups try and get everything out in one go and subsequently lose the interest and the attention of the audience. The key is being clear on the benefits. Focus on what your tech can do for the brand, not just what your tech can do. A small but so significant difference. And then bring it all to life with examples. Provide a case study to build credibility. And we found that doing a few mock-up examples of our tech in action for the brand that we're talking to really helps bring it to life. And finally, deliver great personal customer service, because while you're small, that's something that you can do easily, and it gives a really one-to-one touch. So advice for brands from the panel. It's vital to communicate with the whole of your business, as it is what it is that you are setting out to achieve and to manage expectations as to how everyone should engage. Part of this is getting senior buy-in. There will be learnings along the way. These things don't happen. They don't sort of go off with a successful bang straight away. It takes time and work. So it's important that everyone is bought into that. By understanding the startups you'll work with is also critical. The reason the startups are so exciting is because they're young and fast-moving. But that means they're very different to your organisation. It also means they are dramatically under-resourced with very little funding and very little time. So simply being respectful of that and doing things like explaining next steps and timelines and the stakeholders involved, being flexible on processes like payment terms, and always giving feedback can all have a really positive impact on the relationship. And finally, the most important is take a lean approach. No plan survives the first encounter, as they say, and we all know that marketing campaigns are about finessing over time to get them right. So always start small when you're working with a startup on one bit of one small campaign, and then apply the learnings and scale from there. So finally, advice for the agencies and marketing professionals working for clients. As I said, becoming known for the introducer of innovation to clients can become a real USP. It can help win pitches, and it can help retain existing clients. The first thing is to make it someone's job. So some agencies appoint individuals who are responsible for seeking out and introducing different innovation, while others coordinate groups who do it as a part of their day job. It's also key to get the client fit right. Marketing tech can be piloted in such low risk ways, but we all know that some corporations are hugely risk averse. So pick your battles and save everyone some time and energy. KPIs are critical. Know what you want to achieve from leading on the innovation, whether it is a reputation or winning pitches, but then also set KPIs that at a campaign and activity level, as that means that everyone is clearly aligned. And then be really creative with the tech you see. As the Samsung example that I shared earlier shows, any startup worth their salt will present examples of how their tech could work for your clients. However, you absolutely know the clients best. So it's usually you guys who can come up with the amazing ways to apply the tech that you're seeing to the briefs and the clients that you have. And then, of course, the lean approach and the feedback point I made earlier are absolutely critical here too. So just to wrap up, if you're particularly interested in this area, we actually created a downloadable guide along with MEC off the back of the panels that we've done with all of this advice included. So you can download that off that special link there. So feel free to do that. And that's it. You can contact me to talk more about this topic, to talk about Openr, to get advice on getting started. Just email me. That's my email address there. The Startup Tech Guide, there's a repeat of that link there. And be sure to take a look at Openr too, as well as the other startups that I shared earlier, especially if you're working with content and social. We can set up a quick demo on the site, and we've also arranged for all Digital Olympus attendees to get a free account to play with, plus special discounts on our plans. And all you need to do to get that is to hop along to Openr at that special promotional URL there. That's it.
Christina, thank you very much. That was fantastic. Digital marketing startups. Page One Power can relate to this. We've been around for just 5 years, and we've seen our fair share of growing pains and learned lessons along the way. And so much of what you shared is relatable, and I'm sure the same goes for much of our audience. And you're no stranger to startups and new ideas. If I could just submit my own question, that would be. Where do your ideas come from when you're looking at creating something new?
That's a really great question. In the case of Openr, so I can talk about how we approach innovation full stop, but I can also talk about where Openr came from. So Openr is our second marketing tech product. As I said before, we exited the first last year. Somebody acquired it. But we had a problem, and Openr was the solution, as it found out. So we were a scrappy little startup. We used lots and lots of content and social media to build our online community, which is what ultimately the previous business was. And we really wanted people just to sign up, not just to engage with our content. Yet they just kept on reading our content and not signing up. So we built a scrappy little unit that allowed us to add call to action messages onto all this content that we were sharing, and then discovered that there was some really high click-through rates. And from that point onwards, started to realize that there was an awful lot of people who were sharing content, both their own content and the content of others, extensively on social, and that therefore there was probably quite a lot of people who would want to use Openr. So it really was from a very genuine need, a need that we had. So we built the product to fix it. Interestingly, we have We do have, however, have an innovation process. So we're working on another product at the moment. How we get to those products is we try and do it based on needs. So we ask lots of questions of marketers, and we have the tech team to build solutions to what they say. But we also always go through an MVP process, so minimum viable product. So we will, I mean, there's been times when we've had 5 different splash pages on 5 different domain names, testing different ideas to see how many people would sign up to an imaginary service. There was nothing there. People sign up and then we say, well, sorry, we haven't built it yet. We'll come back to you when we do. But that process, that sign up from MVP process, allows us to test products and test reactions to things. And it helps us define what we will build next.
Fantastic. That's brilliant, Christina. Thank you for the answer to that question, and thank you for your time and your presentation.